Same old man. Game over.
You're gonna need a bigger potion.
Wow, so serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Welcome to episode 672 for January 25th, 2026, and I am JD Duran. Brendan could not be here because, as you all know, every state in the United States, except the one that I reside in, is completely under a blizzard or ice or a combination of the two. It's quite dangerous out there. We hope everyone is having a safe week so far. But I live in South Florida, and I think I read something along the lines of the difference in temperature between where I'm at and the northern states, your Michigans, your Wisconsins, and Minnesotas. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 130 degrees in difference, which is wild. Brendan lives in one of those northern states, so he's currently shoveling everything around his entire house. He could not be here. However, I do have a wonderful guest. I am very glad to have her back on the show, and she is also from a warm state that isn't quite getting those blizzard conditions. Joining me is the great Shadan Larki. Shadan, welcome back to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Yeah, JD, it's the one time that everyone can be grateful for Texas and Florida. They have
The one and only time. Yes.
the only time they have contributed something positively to the union, which is you and I talking about award season.
Exactly. Yes. Trying to offer a bit of a distraction because it's been one hell of a weekend. And yeah, we're here to have some fun, talk about the award season. And yeah, this is the only time Florida and Texas will ever be talked about in a positive light, most likely. So yes, I am very excited to have you here. It's also a bit funny and ironic because Shadan and I, we did a live stream over the weekend, last Friday, talking about the Oscars. So thanks to everyone that tuned in for that. We had a great time. We had some wonderful comments. It was lovely. And here we are again talking about the Oscars because Brendan and I, we had set aside this segment to start this show to give our thoughts on the Oscar nominations. But Brendan, of course, could not be here given the blizzard of America at the moment. So Shadan and I, we're just going to delve right in once again. You and I. Let's do it all over again.
Which are more times than people can even realize. We've really been.
It's going to be fun.
Conversation many a time. But JD, I'm very happy to be here. I really do love coming on the main show with you guys. I feel like I get to hang out with my big brothers, which is really fun.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And
it's lovely.
and I just wanted to say a big thank you to echo your sentiment for everyone who leaves comments. That YouTube video is up. A perfect place to leave more comments. As fun as it is to talk to you, JD, it's always great to get more feedback and get to engage with people. So we just really appreciate it so much.
Yeah, I actually had a great exchange with a couple of people on other YouTube videos on our channel over the weekend, and it was wonderful. Positive reaction. I know it's YouTube, it's social media, it's the internet in 2026. I know it's pretty rare, but we had a cordial, passionate exchange in the comment section. We love to do that. So yeah, leave any comments either below on this or on the live stream or our recent Chasing the Gold, where Shadan and Amanda Spears gave their reactions to this year's crop of Oscar nominees. So we are going to do that to start the show. Many of you listening to this episode probably did not listen to the live stream. Maybe you did check out Chasing the Gold. However, I'm going to treat this as many of you did not catch the live stream. So we're going to delve into the Oscar nominations once again, give our reactions to it and what we foresee coming in the next few months. And the back half of this show, Brendan and I, as we were prepping for this episode, we wanted to do something Oscars related. Brendan came up with a couple of great ideas, and we decided to do a draft. We did this some time ago, about 100 episodes ago, but it was with Best Picture. We did a Best Picture nominees draft and a Best Picture winners draft. We separated them a little bit. And we thought, let's do something along those lines, but for Best Actress. We're going to focus specifically on Best Actress. And while the Best Picture drafts that we did, those were more broad, for this Best Actress draft, we are going to limit it to the 2020s, this particular decade. So from 2020 through 2025, we're going to be talking about those Best Actress nominees. And so we'll do a 10-round draft. That'll be the back half of this episode. And I'm very excited to dig into that with Shadan, especially because, and you already know this, Shadan, we talked about this offline, there have been some incredible nominees for Best Actress over the last 5 years. And there's been a couple of nominations for that category, more than I remembered. So should be interesting.
Oh, yes. Very much missing Brendan today, but very happy that I get to be the one to do this. I'm a Best Actress nerd. I'm so excited. I volunteered not knowing what we were going to do today. And so when I found out I was like, it's meant to be.
Yes.
There's a silver lining in all the snow. Not for the rest of you, but for me, because I get to geek out about Best Actress. I'm really
great
excited.
Category. Yeah, it's a rich category in most years. And yeah, you almost forget that some of that richness is left on the table a little bit. But we're here to talk about the nominees. We'll get to that in the back half of the episode, that draft. I am very excited for it. Let's start the show by jumping into this year's crop of nominees. Again, forgive the redundancies for those that listen to Chasing the Gold and or the live stream. But under the presumption that most of you haven't, Shadan, tell me, what are your overall thoughts on this year's crop of nominations?
Well, first off, to start, I would like to say that we are all part of the InSession Film family, so you can find Chasing the Gold in the same InSession Film. So we're at whatever brought you here. Chasing the Gold is also there. So yes. Feel free to listen. I do have to give a plug for my child. I don't know, the progeny pod of the InSession Film pod. I don't know what you call it, but it is a real privilege to get to do that. But no, JD, I mean, I genuinely think this is 2025 was just an incredible year. And there are some, shall we say, dark gray spots in the nominations, which we can get to. But overall, I think they're really solid. I mean, if we end up with a Best Picture winner, One Battle, Sinners, Hamnet, even Marty Supreme, I think all of those are really, really solid choices. I think there's some really inspired nominations that show that the Academy is paying attention. Surratt in Sound, the great Delroy Lindo, and 50-year career working with some legends across the industry, gets his first Oscar nomination. Rose Byrne for a tiny movie that, no one knew what was going to happen. The Voice of Hin Rajab, a very tiny international film for Tunisia, getting in. So I understand that there is negative discourse. We can get into all of that. Certainly some head scratcher nominations that I was disappointed in, but a lot to be excited for. I don't know if I'm just too rosy cheeked and positive, but I'm not. I just think the doom and gloom, let's throw the Oscars away, is not the right mentality. Are there issues that need to be addressed? Absolutely. Does there need to be more diversity? Do they need to make some changes to the rules? Do they need to get rid of the pay for play situation with the campaigning going on? 1,000%. Hire me to do it. I would happily do that. Okay. But I'm not ready to just say the whole thing is rotten. Let's cancel them. Let's do away with them. Awards are bad, this and that. I refuse to engage in that. I think it's just as equally as toxic as just saying,
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that. I think there's a lot to love here. The Oscars, the Academy, there are things to fix and address, for sure. Things that should have been addressed decades ago probably should be remedied. However, on the whole, I do think there's a lot to love here. The Academy has changed drastically since 2016. We have seen that not only in terms of who is in the Academy now and who is voting on these awards, but it's been indicative of the nominations and the wins themselves and how that has evolved over the last 10 years. There's no doubt that the Academy's taste have evolved. And I would argue for the better. And this year's crop of nominations is among some of their very best work on the whole. And to your point, yes, there are some nominees here that leave a lot to be desired. But on the whole, I think they did a great job. One Battle After Another, Sinners, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, Hamnet, all of those are in my personal top 10. I love them all. And it doesn't always work out that 4 of my personal top 5 are also Best Picture nominees. That's actually quite rare, but it very much aligned for me this year. And I really do think those are great movies. Those are deserving of their Best Picture nominations. 16 nominations for Sinners, a record I think is astounding. And I think that film is a full-on masterpiece. I think it is great. It's Ryan Coogler's best film to date, in my opinion. And for that film to be nominated down the board in so many great categories, I think is fantastic. It's wholly deserved. According to some of my mentions and the YouTube comments, those aforementioned YouTube comments we got over the weekend, not everyone agrees that Sinners is that great, but I do. I do think it is really great. It was my number 3 movie of the year, but my top 3 are a bit interchangeable. I could put Sinners at number 1 and not lose any sleep at all. I think it is great. And now we have a race, and that is maybe the most exciting thing about where we are now. A few months ago, maybe even a month ago, most people would chalk Best Picture and Director up to Paul Thomas Anderson in One Battle After Another. But now Sinners is very much in this race. It's very much a coin toss, and that is very exciting because it doesn't always happen that way. We know who's going to win Best Picture months in advance. It felt like with Oppenheimer, we knew. We all knew what was going to happen that year. So it's exciting that while I would love to see Paul Thomas Anderson win, I would love to see One Battle win Best Picture, but if Sinners was to surprise and take that home, maybe it wouldn't even be a surprise. I think it would be something we would all understand and maybe even see coming. So the fact that we have this race and it's 2 films that I think are wholly deserved of that award, that's exciting. I do think that the Academy did a great job of putting themselves in a position to really win this year with all these awards and what they nominated.
Yeah, to your point, it's extremely rare to be in a position where there's 2 or 3 films that could potentially win, where we would all go, yes, that's a solid Best Picture winner. I just want to warn that, any confidence right now, overconfidence, I think is severely misplaced. I think Sinners is in a very good position. It takes support from across the Academy to win Best Picture. And Sinners has that. Nominations all over the place. And how beautiful that horror, a genre that has been traditionally ignored by the Academy for nearly 100 years, was the film that breaks the all-time nomination record. And for a film that really,
that coming?
Who would have seen that coming? I mean, truly. Yeah. And you have weapons in the mix, something like The Ugly Stepsister. They've really embraced again a little bit of these weird outside of the box genre picks, which is really, really cool. And we have BAFTA nominations coming out on the 27th, so it'll be interesting to see what our British counterparts sort of think of the race. SAG, I think Sinners is very much in contention for SAG. SAG loves these sort of large casts from these populist films. I think Sinners very much fits the bill of a tradition of the SAG winners that we've at least seen for the last several years. So if we're in a world where Sinners wins SAG and potentially overperforms with BAFTA, this is not sewn up. And I agree with you. I'm a huge PTA fan. I mean, I would not be against seeing him pick up, several pieces of hardware, but Ryan Coogler has a lot of support. I mean, Christopher Nolan, president of the DGA, firmly behind him and campaigning for him. Spike Lee, it's not over until it's over, and it's certainly not over right now.
And it feels like it would be a great year to split as well. Ryan Coogler, that is my personal pick for Best Director, but I also have One Battle at my number 1. I wouldn't mind to see the Academy do something like that where they split, give Coogler the Best Director Oscar, because I do think it is the directorial achievement of the year. but maybe you give picture to win battle. That would also be kind of fun, a great way to give both of those films proper due.
I would even go
but-
further than that, JD, which is not going to happen, but I would love to see Hamnet win adapted screenplay. I think that is a stunning, stunning adaptation. So I would love a world where Hamnet wins adapted screenplay, Sinners wins original screenplay and picture potentially, and then PTA wins some combination of picture, director, screen. Like there's a way to split this, like the Mean Girls tiara scene. There's a way to make everybody happy. Does the Academy care about that? No, but in a perfect world.
Well, yeah, and maybe that leads to the few, I don't want to say issues, but maybe disappointments of this year is that, and there are two for me. There are two. Again, a lot to love, but if I had to narrow down my disappointments, it comes down to one. There was a stat going around that there were 8 categories this year filled fully by movies nominated for Best Picture. That doubles the previous record of 4. So again, maybe that's just indicative of the quality of the films at the top. That very much could be the case. And I do think that's understandable because those films are very good. So maybe it's just a top heavy year, or it could be indicative of voters becoming a little bit lazy in terms of watching movies, especially given some of the recent rules that they have established that you have to mark off what you're watching and where you're watching it and all that sort of stuff. So maybe it's indicative of voters only watching the movies in contention for Best Picture and not being broad enough in their film appetite. That could be part of it, because I do think 2025 was a really great year, and it would have been nice to see that celebrated a little bit more in terms of these nominations. And that leads to the second disappointment for me. And this comes back to what you were saying as far as how great of a year it was for horror and for the Academy to embrace horror. And yes, Sinners in a lot of ways is very much a music movie, and that does tailor to the Academy's taste, historically speaking, but it also is a vampire movie. It is a horror movie. Weapons very much gets recognized. The Ugly Stepsister was a really fun surprise nomination that we got last week. And I think Danny Boyle's 28 Years Later, it's a full-on masterpiece. Now, I understand why it's a little bit divisive. It's certainly more polarizing than something like Sinners. But at the very least, I think it is inarguable the craft of that movie. I think 28 Years Later should have been nominated for Best Cinematography at the very least. Perhaps score as well. It's a stunning achievement in terms of the craft. I think that is undeniable. And I think this would have been a great year because there's a built-in excuse where you are embracing horror finally. Weapons gets a nomination. Ugly Stepsister, as we noted. Sinners. 28 Years Later is sitting right there. I do think it is very much merited of an Oscar nomination, but they decide to leave it out. And we talked about this a little bit on the live stream, but I guess to echo something Shadan said there, 28 Years Later clearly did not play the game, the awards game. They weren't having conventions. They didn't have any parties. They weren't doing any sort of conventional marketing. And that maybe comes back to a broader topic you mentioned, Shadan, as far as how all of this works. But it's still a little disappointing because I feel like the craft, the images are there on the screen. The cinematography is undeniable. It would have been really fun to just see the horror trend continue by bringing that film into the conversation. Thus, it does not. Those are really my only two big disappointments. I guess there are a few others. Best Actress. We'll get to that. Have fun. Maybe we'll get to that. Who knows? Like there are certainly some things here too, that leaves a little bit to be desired. I don't want to focus too much of our energy on that because there is a lot to really like here again, but wanted to bring that up, especially the down the line Best Picture dominated everything, because that could be a problem moving forward if they don't address that.
I mean, I think it's really interesting. One thing that I have kept coming back to since the nomination, since our live stream, is that it really is like an alchemy to get these nominations, because you have to have a lot of things kind of coming together. Like, you know, you have to have A-list support and industry support. You got to have the campaign money, the events. I keep coming back to Neon spending 8 times the budget of Anora on Anora's Best Picture campaign. You have to have a studio that has, you know, experience doing this kind of stuff. Mubi was successful with The Substance last year, but they were not able to deliver for Die My Love, even though Jennifer Lawrence was out there playing the game.
She
I mean,
was very much out
Amanda
there,
Seyfried was very much out there playing the game, and Searchlight is traditionally a studio and a distributor that does very well in the Oscar race. This year, Rental Family, Testament of Anne, I mean, they just blanked across the board. So, I mean, sometimes it just comes together and sometimes it doesn't, and I think, you know, how do they fix that? I would love to see some sort of more campaign rules being put into place. Or like
a salary cap.
A salary cap,
like sports.
Yeah, or changing, you know, the voting window. Maybe they make it shorter, or, you know, or like there's less events. I don't know. I don't know what they do, but it is part of the problem for sure. And again, I think we keep coming back to, oh, it's broken. Okay, we can fix it. Again, I don't know how. Again, hire me. I will figure it out. If someone's willing to pay me, like I will happily fix it for you. But there's a lot of things going on. And like, again, to your point of like, well, how do the nominations turn out this way? I mean, even you and I, JD, I'm sure you can relate to this. Like sometimes you're scrolling through your 1,000 options to think of things to watch and you get exhausted and you just want to watch something that's easy and comforting or something you may have seen before. And I think that's the same is true of Academy voters. I mean, we certainly saw this across the Emmys, where now there's so many shows, and instead of more shows getting nominated, less shows are getting nominated. I think it's a little bit of like paralysis of choice, where there's like too many places for these voters to go. And if you're getting, you know, 600 screeners thrown at you, I know that's the case for you just as a Critics' Choice member. I think it's all part of the problem, and it's all these pieces coming together. And I don't think we can point to one thing and go, that's the reason why the Oscar nominations, you know, have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is. I am certainly not the best one to offer that solution. Shadan, I would love to get you in charge of the Academy because it's a bit of the Wild West, and it would be nice to have someone that has a vision and a plan. I have seen this very much on the college football front, because that is also the Wild West right now, with money being thrown at players left and right, the transfer portal, all that sort of stuff. But people are starting to come together to put a plan in place to make that less of the Wild West. I feel like the Academy needs to do a little bit of that as well. And to be fair to them, I do feel like slowly but surely they are trying to address this by implementing those rules, because just a few years ago, we were all complaining that it was clear that the Academy voters weren't watching everything. Well, now they're trying to make it to where you do watch everything. So that addresses a problem from a few years ago, but now it's fostered a new issue in that, well, I'm only watching these 10 movies, so they're getting nominated for everything. That's what my ballot's going to look like.
Yeah.
So that's another problem. Because 2025 was a great year, and there were many, many other great movies that got blanked that very well should have been nominated, or at least been in the conversation for sure. And so yes, it's not perfect. But I think given the current parameters, they did mostly a great job here, especially with Best Picture and Director. I also want to highlight Jafar Panahi getting a nomination here for Best Original Screenplay. That was very exciting. Maybe we were a little disappointed he doesn't get into Director, and in the spirit of transparency, I do think he should have gotten in for Director over Joachim Trier. What Joachim Trier does in Sentimental Value is really great. I'm not trying to diminish that, as much as I feel like Sentimental Value is a writing masterclass. That film, from a screenplay perspective, I think is quintessentially impeccable. It is great storytelling. I deeply love it. And his direction certainly plays a big role in that. But I think what Panahi does is slightly more of a directorial achievement. And I feel like he should have gotten in over Trier. I would have loved to see the film get into Best Picture as well, especially because there's at least one film there, if not two, that it was just an accident, easily clears. However, despite those disappointments, the fact that he got in at all, and if you have if you've followed his career to this point, Jafar Panahi's never been a filmmaker chasing Oscars. Like, that's just never been his thing. He's never had the luxury to. If you know anything about his career, he's had to make most of his movies in secret, illegally. And here comes a movie that is about him wrestling with that directly. And it's incredible, to the point where after all of this is done, he has to go back to Iran. He's going to very much purposefully go back to Iran to be arrested for making this movie. Incredible. An incredible narrative. The fact that he got in is just deeply, deeply exciting to me.
I mean, you can just have my Persian card and just be Persian. And I feel like you spoke about that so more passionately than I could have. Well done, JD.
Thank you.
My mom will be very happy and very proud. No, I mean, I agree. That was one of the big disappointments for me. I mean, I keep saying The Testament of Anne Lee over and over again. I mean, 2025, JD, was a marquee year for female-directed films. I'm very happy to see Chloe Zhao back, the first time ever, or I guess the second woman to come back to be nominated for Best Director more than once, in addition to Jane Campion. But, I mean, The Mastermind, Sorry Baby, Materialist, I'm probably... The Voice of Hinterjob, which I mentioned. I mean, if it was up to me, Amanda Seyfried would be an Oscar nominee, and my draft would look a lot different than what you're about to hear. I mean, so yeah, certainly some disappointments. Very happy to see my beloved Train Dreams to get in there. But JD, I think it's so interesting because what fascinates me about the Oscars is that it's very much a microcosm of the film industry, which is very much a microcosm of our society as a whole. And I think similar to sort of some of these identity crises and fractures that are happening in the world at large, the Academy is very much experiencing the same thing. There's this tension between the newer, younger, more international voters that have come in and the traditional old guard of the Academy that is drawn to an F1 or a song sung blue type of a movie. And can those two things coexist with one another? You have an Academy that's very much trying to court attention. We haven't even gotten to the YouTube of it all. What's that going to look like? Yeah. And can you put in these sort of populist films and still appease the art house community? I don't know. I think there were certainly populist films that were better than F1 that are more deserving of that type of a slot. If you want to say there's maybe one or two slots reserved for a film like that. But that's sort of what I'm interested in, is like, what do these nominations like reflect about where the industry is? And I think the industry is confused. And I think we see that in the films that are being produced. And again, this tension between this sort of Netflix content that is designed for you to watch on your phone and this sort of art house type of cinema. And then somebody like a Guillermo del Toro that's very much an art house director, but has to go to Netflix to get his dream project funded. So all of these things, again, the Oscars really are a microcosm of what's happening at large. So I think the winners can be very much reflected of that too. Like, do they kind of go for Sinners, which is bolder for the Academy, or is it finally embracing Paul Thomas Anderson, who has throughout his career been seen as the bold youngster on the scene? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and it is interesting, and it certainly sparks a much bigger conversation on philosophy as far as the Academy Awards and what they're trying to accomplish as far as trying to have some sort of pulse in the cultural zeitgeist. And while the old guard, seemingly that's who is trying to perhaps pander to that the most, I do feel like there needs to be a conversation about what we are trying to do in that regard, because there are some nominations here that feel like they're simply pandering to, hey, you might have liked this film and maybe you saw it in theaters because it made a bunch of money. So why don't you come over here and watch our little ceremony? Obviously, the quintessential example of that this year is something like F1. That film being in a 10 of Best Picture nominations is baffling, utterly baffling. It is laughable at best that film is nominated for Best Picture. Sound, absolutely. On its own terms, it's warranted for something like sound, or even Hans Zimmer's score. If it was to get in, it wasn't a top 5 score for me personally. I do think there are better scores overall, but if Zimmer got in, I wouldn't have batted an eye. That would have been understandable at the very least. But editing and picture certainly do not make sense to me at all. And if we're simply pandering to the larger audience, it's a movie they may have seen from the summer. I want to know what the discussions of that was behind the scenes. I don't know if you've seen the box office for 2025, Shadan, but F1 is not representative of the box office for 2025. Especially when you look at domestic box office. It's not even in the top 13. Not even in the top 13 for domestic box office. That film financially was saved by the global box office because the sport, shockingly, is bigger overseas than it is here in the States. So it does better overseas, and that saves the film from being a financial failure. But it wasn't all that received here in the United States. So why is that film the one that is being the poster boy for, well, we have to include something else that isn't these art house or year-end awards releases? It just doesn't make sense, especially when a movie like Thunderbolts did better financially than F1, and I think clears F1 in a lot of categories. I was pretty mixed on Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, but the stunt work in that clears anything in F1 as well. Sinners, obviously that's kind of a category all on its own, but Wicked for Good did better financially. Jurassic World Rebirth did better. Avatar: Fire and Ash, that feels like maybe the movie that kind of bridges that gap between commercial appeal and artistry. Even if it wasn't as well received as The Way of Water, it was still pretty well received. It cleared $1.4 billion at the box office and is still ongoing, by the way, in that regard. So why is Avatar: Fire and Ash not that movie? F1 feels like it was literally just picked out of a hat. Like, it just makes no sense to me.
I think the argument that you just set up makes perfect sense for F1, actually, because we keep talking about an academy that's becoming increasingly younger and international. And F1, to your point, is a sport with massive international appeal. So it makes sense that those international voters would go for it. I mean, the producers behind F1 have an incredible Oscars track record. Didi Gardner is now the most nominated female producer in history. She and her producing partner also nominated, won Emmys for Adolescence, I should say, this year. So they're having one heck of a year. They're incredibly popular with the Academy. So if something like It Was Just an Accident is maybe too difficult of a watch, or not enough people saw it, and then maybe Wicked or something like that didn't perform, maybe Blue Moon is too small of a film, and in comes this sort of flashy, sexy, respectably made enough F1 that is going to appeal to people who really like this sport and dads. I mean, to me, that kind of makes perfect sense, actually.
Okay, so we're going to make this a marketing stunt then. That's what I'm hearing. Because, again, are we taking this seriously? Are we not taking this seriously? Like, that, again, I feel like is the fundamental question of, and it's obviously not one that you and I are going to answer on this show, but I do think it's a question that they have to wrestle with. And seemingly the answer is yes, because again, I look at most of these nominations here and I do feel like they did a great job. That's why I don't want to emphasize the F1 thing too much, because I think they did way more right than they did wrong in this case. But F1 is laughable. It is. It's laughable, especially when there are many other great films from women directors as you noted earlier, that didn't get nearly the play that they should have. Kelly Reichardt, I think, made one of the best films of the year. Now, is Kelly Reichardt ever going to be recognized formally by the Academy? Probably not. It's a very small movie that not a lot of people saw. It obviously did not have any sort of marketing budget. Again, the whole play-for-play system is kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. That's the world that we live in. The Mastermind did not have the campaign funds, but I think it's one of the best films of the year, especially if you're a fan of the New Age Hollywood era. Or Mary Bronstein. I mean, Rose Byrne gets in, but If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You is also one of the directorial achievements of the year. Eva Victor, where is she?
Right.
How is that film shut out? Like, that makes no sense to me at all. Lynn Ramsey, okay, that is a little bit more understandable. She's a very divisive filmmaker to begin with, so I can understand that, but I do think it's one of the better films of the year. Jennifer Lawrence should have been that 5th nomination. In terms of international releases, Sound of Falling from Germany, that to me is one of the top 5 movies of the year. Now, look, the international films that got in deserve to be there. I don't know who you remove for something like Sound of Falling. I bring
that's
that
an
up,
impeachable list, in my opinion.
and that's fine. That's totally fair. All I'm saying is if one of those was removed and Sound of Falling was there in its place, I would feel the exact same. Because that's, again, one of the best films of the year. That's in my top 15. Again, another woman director there. Kristen Stewart, I think, had one of the best debut films of the year. So, like, the list kind of goes on. And looks, I understand some of those are not going to be recognized because they're small movies that had no campaign funds behind them. But generally, it just gets back to the idea of, well, we're only watching the 10 movies. It's not broad enough. And we're kind of stuck in this old school ethos while trying to build this new school ethos simultaneously. And it just feels like, to your point earlier, they're having a bit of an existential crisis at the moment. And look, in the middle of that, I feel like they've done mostly a great job, but it's not perfect. And there are certainly things to address for sure.
Right. I mean, one point that you make repeatedly and quite eloquently is that we have turned art into sports. I don't disagree with you, but I think the problem is that we have turned art into politics. I think fandom culture has completely ruined the way that we engage with art, and this sort of politics of you're either on my team or this team has infiltrated the way that we talk about everything, and it's seeped into how we talk about these films. And in terms of the sort of campaigning of it all, listen, if you tell me that you think Kate Hudson gave a better performance than Jennifer Lawrence, Amanda Seyfried, Tessa Thompson, Eva Victor, okay, I have no problem with that. If that's why you put her on your ballot, that's 1,000% fine, because you have the right to do so. I mean, many of you might look at my Best Actress draft and think that my tastes are insane. Cool. But if you put her on your list because you went to an FYC event and she was there and she was nice and she took a picture with you and she's charming, as she is, she's lovely, but that's not a reason to vote for somebody if, to your point, the Oscars are supposed to be about art. But that's where
that's the big problem. And that's to your point, like, I call it art as sports mostly when I'm referring to that as how audience is receptive, to award season that's aimed at the discourse. The awards itself, you're absolutely right. That is more art as politics. It is very much politics, 100%. Very objectively, it's politics. It's campaigning, it's getting out there, it's meeting people, it's shaking hands and taking pictures with babies. That's what they do on the campaign trail. And that's why you see them at these round tables or having the directors on directors and all that sort of stuff. Like, they are very much getting out there and campaigning. So it is politics. And that's why if I was a billionaire, the first thing I would do is write a blank check to Kelly Reichardt. How much money do you need to promote this? That's the very first thing that I would do. So, like, if Kelly Reichardt all of a sudden starts getting blank checks, you know that I've won the lottery. There will be signs. There will be signs. But
the fact that you would pay Kelly Reichardt before you would pay me and sweet, wonderful Dave is very troubling, first of all. I was not expecting the conversation to take that turn of the first thing.
I didn't say you wouldn't. I'm just saying that I would also be writing those checks.
Your kids' college funds, JD. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe those need to get padded a little bit first. No, but
look, billions of dollars is a lot of money, though.
That's true.
A lot of money.
But again, to go back to this tension, though, because again, to end this segment on a positive note, when you look at a nomination like Train Dreams, this tiny movie getting in for cinematography or Best Picture, or The Secret Agent getting in for casting, there are these like little glimmers of they are really paying attention. I mean, like, look at The Substance last year, like a horror movie like that, directed by a woman, getting as much love as it did, starring a woman over 60. Like, there is still like really, really amazing things that can happen at the Oscars. I keep bringing up the example of Flow winning animated feature last year and how much that meant.
That was a fun surprise. Yeah.
So it's like there are really positive, hopeful things happening. I'm not ready to give up on it, and I think the base of it is strong. There's just flaws.
Yeah, for sure. And this ended up veering more into a philosophical conversation than I ever intended it to. And that's really fun. I always love having this conversation. But just to talk about the nominees themselves here for a minute before we get to the draft, a couple of things that I certainly wanted to highlight. Stellan Skarsgård, who is certainly one of the front runners for that category, is the first nominee for a non-English language international film. That I thought was exciting. In his category, yeah. That's what I'm. For best supporting actor, yes. Which I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I knew that, but that was a fun little tidbit to come out. Chloe Zhao getting in for Hamnet, I thought was really exciting. Really loved seeing that nomination get in there. Emma Stone getting in for Begonia is interesting. Not necessarily a top 5 performance for me personally, but I do really like it. And honestly, I think it is the best performance she's given in a Lanthimos film, to be quite honest with you, which is a bit ironic because unlike Poor Things, it feels like she's just there for the ride, just for the nomination. She doesn't really have much of an opportunity to win that award. Although, to be fair, I don't know if any of the other 4 nominees have much of an opportunity to win that award. But Emma Stone getting in is interesting. She also gets a producing nomination here as well. So that's 7 total for her, I think. 7?
Yep, 5 acting, 2 producing. I believe she either ties or breaks the record for the youngest person to get 7. I think she ties the record.
I think she broke Streep's record. Is what I read.
Another fun record that was broken. Ruth E. Carter is now the most nominated Black woman in Oscar history. This is her 5th nomination for costumes. So really, really cool there. To your Stellan Skarsgård point, I just want to say justice for Song Kang-ho from Parasite, who should have been the first international acting nominee. But happy for Papa Skarsgård. I really do hope he takes it home. I really love that.
I do as well. Yeah, that's my vote. That would absolutely be my vote. Also want to know, Surat makes history. That is the first film with an all-women sound team to be nominated for the Sound Oscar. That's very, very exciting. I love to see that as well. Autumn Darrell Akapau is the first woman of color nominated for that category for Best Cinematography. I think she's also the first Filipino woman to be nominated for that category as well. So that's really exciting. And she probably has a really great chance to win it. It's probably between that and Train Dreams. Am I way off base there?
No, I think you're correct.
Yes.
Absolutely. I would say she's the front runner. Yep, yeah. Lots of positive glimmers of hope. Don't give up yet, JD. Turn that frown upside down.
No, I think given where the Academy was 15 years ago, this is a huge improvement. Huge improvement. It's still hard to look at some of the glaring faults here. Again,
Sure.
F1 to me is it's laughable. It's absolutely baffling. I do not understand it at all. Again, I understand what you're saying as far as there being a larger international contingent here, but that is a laughable, absolutely laughable nomination when there were so many other great movies that deserved that spot. But on the whole, yes, I think there's a lot to really like here. Jessie Buckley, the fact that she's not only nominated but probably going to win for Hamnet is exciting because I've been championing her since 2015 when Beast came out, I believe is when that film came out. I've been very much on her train since the very beginning. At least since I first saw her.
I got on the train. I think Wild Rose was what did it for me, which is, it's so fun for people to also get to discover Jessie Buckley. I'm like, welcome to the party. Let's talk about Fingernails, a great movie that nobody saw that I really liked.
Yeah, for sure.
And can I tell you, I think my personal favorite category, JD, is Best Supporting Actress, a category that has been very much overtaken by category fraud in the past couple of years. But all of these performances are genuinely supporting performances. I think it's a great category. Great to see Amy Madigan back after 40 years. Wunmi Mosaku getting in. I mean, there's, I think, just an impeachable category here. Inga Ipsalater-Lilius, just incredible performance. And Best Actor, JD, what a solid category. I really, as much as I would have loved to see Joel Edgerton or Jesse Plemons also in the mix, like, I don't know who I would remove to get to that. So
yeah, I mean, for me, it would be Ethan Hawke. I wouldn't even think twice about it. And I love Ethan Hawke. I think part of it is I don't love Blue Moon on the whole. I think it's a good movie. It is a bit weird to me because I feel like the two Linklater films that we got in 2025, they feel like other people trying to imitate Linklater. That's how those movies felt to me versus a genuine Linklater movie. Like I enjoyed them both, but I wouldn't say that I loved them. And Ethan Hawke is very good. I'm not trying to diminish him, but I do think I would put those two in over him and I wouldn't even think twice about it. But it is a very good category though.
I wouldn't put Timothée Chalamet in there, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. And I fell asleep watching Blue Moon, so I need to watch it again before I can fully comment on it because I missed most of it.
Well, you and I will have some fighting words about Chalamet. I do think that is the film he was born to play, at least to this point. I think it's his best role. It's not even close as far as I'm considered. And that is my winner for Best Actor this year as well.
I think he's winning. Yeah. For those of you who want to come for me, it doesn't matter because he's most likely going to win. I think the momentum is very much in his favor.
And I say that almost heartbreakingly because there's a part of me that wants to say what Leo does in One Battle is maybe the best of his career too. Like in any other year, it would be Leo for me and it wouldn't even be close. But I do think Chalamet, again, if Leo somehow surprised, I would love that. But yeah, I think
I mean, who wouldn't love to see Academy Award winner Michael B. Jordan? I think that would be really cool. Like
that would be cool too. Yeah, I would not be angry if he won. I would not be angry. Look, I wouldn't be angry if any of them won. Like I say this with all love and respect to Ethan Hawke. He's one of my favorite actors working today. I deeply love Ethan Hawke. I think it's more so like it's less about his performance and more so how the film utilizes that performance. It's not as effective as some of these others. But I love Ethan Hawke and I am deeply happy for him. And I'm glad that he got the nomination here. It's just not a top 5 performance for me. That's all.
I mean, speaking of stats though, JD, kind of wild to think about Ethan Hawke and Emma Stone having the same number of acting nominations, given how long Ethan Hawke has been in the game.
Yeah, pretty wild. I do want to echo you on Best Supporting Actress though. All 5 of those, like that's an incredible lineup. That's a really, really good lineup there. Maybe my favorite of all the categories, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, some really, really great stuff here. Just trying to browse. Is there anything else before we move on? International, you already talked about. That was really exciting. Any thoughts on best casting? It's the first time we've had best casting. Any thoughts on our first crop of nominees for that category?
I think they are an incredible crop of nominees. Like I said, The Secret Agent getting in there. I want to point out, because there was some conversation about why something like Sentimental Value didn't get in, even though all four of their acting nominations got it.
It is.
First of all, Joachim Trier has been open about the fact that he kind of wrote the film with Renata Rensby and Stellan Skarsgård in mind, so he didn't really cast those two parts, which works against the film. And casting is about the process of bringing the cast together and not the quality of performances. So just to get that.
That's a fair distinction.
Yeah. So when you look at something like The Secret Agent, where they're trying to find a cast of sprawling characters that have to make sense in 1970 Brazil, that is incredibly difficult. Then you have something like Sinners that's balancing, you know, finding a newcomer like Miles Catton versus sort of the veterans. And you know, everyone, we remember the casting agents, they have to find everyone. So everyone we see in the barn, all of the vampires, all of that is something that Francine Maisler, who's very likely to win the Oscar for Sinners, I mean, she had to go and find all those people. So I think if we look at BAFTA and we look at stats, traditionally their casting prize has very much aligned with picture. So perhaps that's going to be an indication early on Oscar evening of which way the race could go, similar to editing, how editing functions. It'll also be interesting to see in the future if the casting prize sort of remains sort of inspired and interesting. The casting branch is pretty small, which is what I think has given way to a great crop of nominees. Is it going to stay that way, or is it going to turn into like a SAG prize of like, oh, this is the most famous, you know, cast, and therefore they're going to get a nomination?
For sure. Yeah, it can be interesting. Certainly one to watch. The last thing I'll note, and then we'll move on to the draft here. It was very funny that, and this is one of my favorite nominations of the morning just because it's hilarious to me. Avatar: Fire and Ash for best costume. Nobody saw that coming, and that is very funny. I think you put it out on the live stream, and rightfully so, that they're not digital costumes. They are real costumes because it is mocap. And mocap is a sect of acting that I feel like should be recognized more. That and animated voice performances. I think both of those should start to get recognition more and more. And maybe with the success of Avatar: Fire and Ash, among all of Andy Serkis's work, maybe we'll get there one day. I don't know. But for a film that is obviously very, very digital, for best costumes to come through for that movie, quite humorous. I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of stats, JD, I saw a stat that I think only like 3 people out of the, I don't know how many thousand people predict on Awards Expert, 3 people were predicting Avatar: Fire and Ash or something crazy, like one, just the crazy number. I'm probably not right, but like a ridiculously small. So I don't have to feel bad about missing. Sometimes you just take the L and you move on. And
nobody saw that coming. Yeah. I want to know who those 3 people are, because kudos to them. That is unbelievable.
Viva Verdi for getting in for Best Original Song. Whoever predicted that, please come on Chasing the Gold and tell me, like, did you just make a typo and you happen to get lucky? Did you just like eeny miny? Because I struggled with that 5th best song. That was the nomination, I kid you not, that kept me up at night because I just didn't know what was gonna get. I thought Wicked was gonna get at least, you know, I don't know, one nomination.
And it was weird. It was something that was a movie that was shot in 2017 or something like that.
Yeah.
But qualified this year. I know, weird. Yeah,
But yeah, I do want to brag about my stats like one more time. I think I got 84% accuracy. So I'm very, very proud of myself. Good. So for those of you that are like, why is she talking about Oscars for an hour? I'm kind of good at predicting this stuff.
Yeah. That's why we have Shadan as our awards editor. She is the best.
Indeed. I mean, not that that's why I'm the awards editor, not that I'm the best. I said the indeed at the wrong part of your comment.
No, it's because she's the best. All right, let's talk about coffee. I love coffee. You love coffee. We all love coffee. And look, if you're going to drink coffee, you might as well drink the best coffee. There are the coffees that you can find at your local grocery store, and they've been sitting on shelves for God knows how long. And there's also a good chance that those coffees are commercial grade coffees. They are lower tier coffees, if you will. What I love about Coffee Cult is that they source specialty grade coffee. So these are high-end coffees. They taste incredible. You don't have to fill them with milk and sugar and all these accessories that drown out the taste of coffee. What's great about Coffee Cult coffee is that like you get these incredible flavor notes of chocolate and oat, depending on the coffee. I really prefer something like the Ethiopian Harar, for example, which has heavy notes of strawberry and blueberry and citrus flavors. Like I always describe it as drinking a blueberry muffin. That's kind of what it tastes like. And it is incredible. And you don't need to fill it with anything else. These coffees also make great espresso if that's something that you're into. It's really, really incredible stuff. They work closely with the farms as well to make sure it's all sourced ethically in the right way. And yeah, maybe that means it's a little pricier than your store-bought commercial grade coffee, but we're talking about the best coffee. And it is worth the money. It is fantastic. But we can offer you a discount. If you go to coffeecult.com, that's coffee with a K, cult with a K, coffeecult.com, use our code ISF26. Again, that code is ISF26. You can find that, of course, in the description of this episode as well. And you will get 15% off. 15% off, which is one of their biggest discounts that you can find. So go check them out, coffeecult.com, and we thank them for their support. All right, let's talk about merch and swag and t-shirts. We love that you guys can support the show simply by checking out our InSession Film merch. I am, of course, wearing one of our logo t-shirts right now, as you can see on the video for those on YouTube. For those listening, it's a green t-shirt with our logo slapped right on it. And you can get one of those on our store. It is run through TeePublic, but what I love about TeePublic is that they have a branded store shop area that is separate from TeePublic, and it allows for us to have our own store. So if you go to InSessionFilm.dashery.com, there you can just check out our store and on its own page. It's not drowned out by all the other TeePublic stuff. And you can see all of the designs there, such as the one that I'm wearing now. If you want Chasing the Gold episode to support Shadan or Women in Session, all of that is up there as well. But we also have different designs based off of some of our favorite movies. I'm a big fan of 28 Years Later. We have a Memento Mori t-shirt now on our store. We just put up One Battle After Another inspired design. That is available for you to check out now as well. We have a Sinners design from earlier in the year. We got all kinds of fun things. One of my favorite shirts that we have, it says Film Score Junkie, because that's all I listen to is film score. So we have all kinds of fun designs. And again, every t-shirt that you buy, it goes directly into supporting this. So it is very much your support, your financial support that is helping this go, but you also get these great t-shirts in the process. Or if you want stickers or mugs, I mean, Dashery, by proxy of TeePublic, they have all kinds of items up there that you can get these designs on. So again, that's InSessionFilm.dashery.com. You can also go to InSessionFilm.com/store to see all of that information there. Again, it really means the world to us, and we really thank you for your support. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our Best Actress draft. And again, we are focusing on this decade, the 2020s, and the performances of the given year. So we're not going to include the 2020 Oscars that were for the films of 2019. We would include that in the 2010s. So 2020 to 2025, we will include this year's crop of nominees as well. those are eligible for the draft. And we are going to do this as we always do. We're going to do a snake draft here. So we will determine who goes first, and then we'll just kind of go from there. And it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Again, any nomination for Best Actress from these 5 years, that is who we're considering for this draft. So with that said, are you ready to go, Shadan?
I'm super curious about this because you and I actually have very similar film tastes. Like, I feel like if you recommend me something, I'll go out and watch it because we're kind of on the same wavelength. So I'm curious to see if that's going to translate to who we pick. And as you alluded to earlier, there's some fantastic nominees in here, and there's some like I made the list, and then the first thing that I did was I just took out the people that I was like, I refuse to even discuss this. And there were quite a few of those, JD. I gotta be honest with you, where I can't deal with it at all.
I hear you. It's gonna be interesting.
And sadly, JD, some of my very favorite actresses were nominated for performances that I just cannot. I just don't like. I won't do it. So we'll see where we end up.
It should be really fun. It's going to be really fun. And again, the other thing to consider here, this is the first time Shadan has joined us for one of these drafts. But whenever Brendan and I contemplate strategy here, we always talk about it in the context of the fan vote. Because once this episode goes live, we will release the results to everyone on social media to vote on. And when you draft with that in mind versus your own personal taste, that can also differ. I have made many draft picks that I don't necessarily love myself, but I think they would play very well in the vote. So that's also part of this, which will make it all the more interesting. So with that said, I have a digital coin here, Shadan, that we are going to flip to determine who goes first. So you call it heads or tails, and we'll go from there.
I'm going to go heads.
Okay, it's flipping, it's flipping, it's flipping. It is tails. Okay, so what that means is that I will go first, and then Shadan will go, but she will, because it sneaks back around, she will then go first in the second round, and then back to me, and then that's how we'll go through the rest of it. Again, 10 rounds here. Okay, are you ready to get started here?
I'm ready. Listen, I'm very confident. I'm just nervous that you're going to steal all the good people that I picked. So go rip off the Band-Aid,
right.
JD. Do it.
All right. So with the first pick here, I am going to go with Lydia Tarr as my number one. Cate Blanchett from Tar. That is my number one. So that is probably I guess for obvious reasons, it's my number one pick here. It is the performance that I would take over all of these others. What Blanchett does in that film is extraordinary. One of the best fictional characters we've had this decade for sure. And my number one. So Cate Blanchett off the board.
All right. I also had her on my list, so consider that your first steal, JD. But my number one pick, and the way that I approached this was I just looked at the whole list and I thought about which one jumped out the most for me. And that is Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, that's a good one
I love this performance. I think about it all the time. I think she just does a brilliant job of being likable and unlikable, just toggles back and forth. You never quite figure out how you feel about her. She's sexy, she's funny, she's mean, she's warm, she's cold, she's all of the things. I think it's just a brilliant, brilliant performance. And we've seen a lot of these sort of wife roles. The Academy loves them. And I think this is a high standard of that archetype of a role. It's just remarkable.
Yeah. And I think what's really great about that performance too is that so many of the loud moments in that performance, which the catharsis is necessary for the character, and that's what gets play on social media. But I think the best qualities of that performance are those understated, quiet moments that sting quite a bit, especially like that. I think of that car scene near the end of the film where she really doesn't say anything. To me, that's the most heartbreaking moment of that film. And it's extraordinary. Great performance. Do love that. Okay, so that is round one. We sneak back to you for the next pick.
All right, JD, next up, I'm going Demi Moore in The Substance. I think this is a great performance, and this is also a fantastic Oscar nomination. Very much not, what anyone was expecting. Demi Moore herself said in her Golden Globe speech that she's always been seen as a popcorn actress, and I'm just really proud of the Academy for giving her this acknowledgement. Again, she toes the line between camp and comedy and drama and pathos brilliantly. I'm not one for body horror, but she's so good that she surpasses any sort of genre. It's just a performance that I think is absolutely going to stand the test of time, and she's just phenomenal. A very, very well-deserved nomination for Demi Moore, and I would love to see her back in the Oscar conversation for something very soon.
Yeah, that's a really great performance, and it was great to see her back in the conversation. Really love how committed that performance is. It gets quite wild at times, and she just goes full bore into it. It's incredible. Really love that one a lot. Okay, so now we are back to me. Okay. I am going to go with, let's see here. There's a couple of really good ones I am considering. I'm going to go, and I don't know if this is more of a cinephile pick. Maybe it's a JD pick. I don't know. I'm going to go Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon. Well, for the audio listeners out there, Shadan had a face. I think she's disappointed that I took this one next. Love this performance. Love that it was put in for lead performance here. I know there was some debate about it at the time, but an incredible performance in one of Marty's best movies in recent years. And again, I love how tender and warm it is. And it's the quiet devastation of that performance, which fits what Marty's trying to accomplish there so impeccably. I love it. And I love that Gladstone is getting highlighted in the ways that she was, because she's been one of my favorites since Certain Women. When she broke out, at least for me, in that film, I would have awarded her that year for that movie. But here we are getting a nomination for Killers of the Flower Moon. It is my next pick here.
That was going to be my next pick, JD. I think what she is able to communicate with just her eyes in that film is remarkable. She is such an empathetic performer. And I just will watch anything that she's in, and I feel like she carries that across all of her performances. But this was such a perfect marriage of actress and director and material. A remarkable performance, and I really wish she had won. No disrespect to the great Emma Stone, who I recently saw someone call her Millennial Meryl, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. But Lily has my heart.
Yes, yeah, love that one a lot. Okay, so we are now back to me as we begin the third round here. Let's see here. Okay, so there's a couple that I am considering here. You know what? Okay. All right, I'm going to go with this. I don't know how this will fare in the vote. This might just be a JD thing. I don't know.
Last time you said that, you took my next pick, so I feel like you should just...
I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again. That's going to be my strategy here. I am going with Michelle Williams in The Fabelmans.
Okay.
So this is one of my favorite films of the decade, The Fabelmans. I think it is among Spielberg's best. And I think what's so fascinating, I think part of the reason I responded to this film is that it's been such a big talking point with Spielberg for decades, literally decades. I mean, even at the time when Close Encounters came out, this was a talking point about how that film was very much about him wrestling with the divorce of his parents. And you see it filtered in many of his films early on. And then to see it scattered into something like AI, I think it's a big part of that movie as well. And that's years after Close Encounters comes out. So it's always been a part of him in some way. So I always found it fascinating that he decided to tackle it directly. It's no longer something that is subtext in my movies. It is now the text of this movie. And obviously, and it's not just Michelle Williams, Paul Dano is masterful in this movie as well. The both of them as his parents. But we're here talking about Best Actress. So we're here to talk about Michelle Williams and what she brings to that movie in terms of tapping into that deep emotion for Spielberg. I think it really is quite remarkable. I loved hearing the stories that Spielberg just seeing them on set like made him weep. like I just love hearing that. Spielberg's one of my faves. He's the GOAT for a reason, and I love that he's willing to tackle this story directly as he does. And Michelle Williams is a big part of why I feel like that film is as great as it is. So again, maybe a me pick. I don't know. I love The Fabelmans. I think it's one of the best of the decade. So maybe that's what it is, but she's my next pick here.
I mean, Michelle Williams is one of my personal GOATs. I think she should have at least 2 Oscars by now. Actually, The Fabelmans isn't a favorite of hers for me. I didn't connect to her performance as much as I have connected to other performances of hers, but it works out well for me because I didn't have her on my list. So good job. I mean, go Michelle Williams and The Fabelmans. I have another Michelle on my list, Michelle Yeoh, for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Of course, she won Best Actress for this performance. I honestly did not love Everything Everywhere as much as many of my favorite cinephiles did, but I think she is that film. The reason why it works is because you fall in love with her, you root for her. I think we have underscored how difficult that performance is. I mean, she's going back and forth through time, through space, through the multiverse. And not only does she nail the action sequences as she always does, but the way that she delivers the emotion and the pathos. I mean, I see so many mothers in her. I just think it's a remarkable performance. And again, in terms of Oscar nominations, just such a well-deserved nomination and recognition. And I was so nervous when I was at the world premiere. I was like, in a perfect world, this would be an Oscar nominated. I didn't even think about Best Picture. I just thought, in a perfect world, Michelle Yeoh would get the nomination, and she did. And I think it, whatever you think of the film, I think it's just brilliant.
Yeah, no, I agree. So this one was tricky. The big reason I didn't go with Michelle Yeoh, and I very much thought about it before going with Michelle Williams, and I really wanted to, because personally speaking, and again, going back to the setup of this conversation, sometimes you're thinking and strategizing as far as the vote is concerned versus your personal favorites, because I loved that performance a lot. And it was my winner for Best Actress that year as well, personally speaking. However, that film since then has become so divisive in a way that I think is incredibly obtuse personally. I think it is way overdone and way overblown. But because that film has become so polarized, that I hesitated. And I was going to wait to see if I could maybe get it later on in this draft. Obviously, I lost that bet. And I get it. I get it, because I would have loved to have taken it. But I very much hesitated, just because I was thinking and strategizing the fan vote. And
all I have to say,
Michelle Williams.
All I have to say to the lovely fans out there is A, vote for me, and B, remove the Oscars from it. Remove the, Michelle versus Kate war. No fandom stuff. Think about the performance. Think about how it made you feel, and you will realize how remarkable of a performance it is. Listen, sometimes, I really think about this, JD. We get so focused on the award season of it all that we actually stop thinking about how good these performances are. We take them for granted.
You're preaching to the choir here. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Oscars as sports has become a big mantra around here, because when people talk about these things, they manufacture these obtuse rivalries that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. And that certainly is one of them as well. And look, I understand wanting Kate Blanchett to win and championing that performance. I very much did as well in a lot of ways. But I think you can separate that from Michelle Yeoh and what she does in that film, because it is equally great. We would have won no matter who won. That's, at least as far as I'm concerned, that's how I would have looked at it. And I think Michelle Yeoh winning was very, very deserving. And like, to me, it's a toss up. And I don't think we have to manufacture a rivalry around it. But a lot of people have. And those people are going to be voting on this. Unfortunately.
Well, they should vote for me.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. So anyway, Michelle Yeoh, it's a great pick. I very much condone the pick, for whatever that's worth. All right. So we are back to you for the next pick.
Okay. This is gonna be really controversial, but I'm gonna explain my mentality, and I hope people go with me. I'm going with Renata Rainsby for sentimental value. Now, oh gosh, okay, that just you just shook up my confidence. Okay, first of all, oh my god, I'm blanking on the film that what's like one of my favorite movies of all time. Help me, JD, the Norwegian one that was in the Oscar race before. Why are you looking at me like?
Oh, what? Yeah, talking about are you talking about Reinsva?
Yeah. What was
The
her
Worst
last
Person in the
movie?
World?
Yes. Okay. The Worst Person in the
Okay.
World, that I blanked on its name, is one of my all-time favorite movies. It was one of the movies that I bought at the Mobile Criterion Closet at TIFF. That's how much I love it. And I was really crushed that she wasn't nominated. So I'm just really happy for her to get her first nomination. I think that in the Stellan Skarsgård of it all, what she's able to do in sentimental value has gotten lost a little bit and is underappreciated because she is sort of a bit more quiet. But again, she's so good at doing so much in the silences, and she doesn't come across as like this bratty, ungrateful daughter. You really empathize with her, and I just think she is one of the most talented actresses we have working right now. I'm so excited to see where her career goes, and I'm just glad that she's in the Oscar nomination club. So I put her on my list, and I stand by it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a really great performance. I feel real strongly about 4 of the 5 nominees we got this year for that category. If she was to win that award, I would absolutely love it. I think what she does in The Worst Person in the World is equally fantastic. I think that is one of the best films of the decade to this point. Sentimental value very much in that conversation as well. And I look forward to what she has up her sleeve next, because, what she does in those 2 films is nothing short of extraordinary. And yeah, I love it. That is a really great pick. That would have been my next pick, 100%. So shame on you for taking that from me. All right. So we now circle back to me, and now I have to reevaluate here. Okay. So, okay. I have a couple here that I'm contemplating. I'm going to stick with this year as well. I'm going to go with Rose Byrne here. I think a lot of people really love Rose Byrne. Just in terms of the general broad discourse that I've seen out there, I feel like this is among the favorites. It's probably that and Reinsva. Again, if I'm just speaking broadly, in terms of those who I think will vote on this anyway. So I'm going to take the other one here. I'm going to take Rose Byrne. In a year that was all about motherhood and grief and trauma, she certainly stands out as one of those quintessential performances in that regard. And it's interesting, right? Because it's a performance where the camera is in her face at all times. It is an extreme close-up at every turn almost. And yet she's able to tap into those nuances in this incredible way that is confident and sophisticated. I love that it's a movie about motherhood, single motherhood, really, because her husband is gone the entire time. And yet there are so many choices that the character makes that are anti-motherhood, and that's where some of the film's comedy comes through, and that is equally compelling to me as much as the warm, tender things that we see from that character as well. Such a gripping performance. I love it. So I'm going to go Rose Byrne here. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. A film that should maybe also be nominated for Best Director, but that's a conversation for another time. All right, so I'm going to go Byrne here. So we snake back to me then. All right, so I have two here that I am considering. And where do I go next? All right. Again, I think this next one also, I think it's going to play to the fans. She has quite the rabid fan base that could help me with the vote. I'm going Kristen Stewart and Spencer.
Oh, wow.
That's my next one. And I love this as well because she was my personal pick that year as well. So I get to have my cake and eat it too here, in the sense that this is a personal pick for me, but also I feel like the Kristen Stewart fans out there, they're going to help my cause when it comes to the vote. They are very passionate about 1K Stu. So I'm going to go Spencer here. And I also love this performance because she's obviously playing a real life person, but not giving an imitation at all. Like, it's still very Kristen Stewart in terms of her ethos and performative habits, while still maintaining the spirit of the person, but not trying to be imitative in any sort of way. I think she finds that balance really, really well. And I love that film a lot. I love a lot about what that style of filmmaking is very much my cup of tea. And I just love the manic energy of it. So Spencer, Kristen Stewart is my next pick here.
All right. Next up for me, I have the great Fernando Torres in I'm Still Here.
That was the other one I was considering. Yeah.
I shamefully was not familiar with her before I'm Still Here. I think she was absolutely remarkable. It's also one of my favorite things, which is that when you rewatch a performance, you discover new things. And that's how you know a performance is as deep and as layered as hers is. Again, she's able to communicate so much without saying very many words in some cases. I think, there's a lot of examples of this sort of long-suffering wife, long-suffering mother, and I don't think she plays into that at all. I think there's just this quiet strength and dignity that she possesses. I absolutely love it. I think, oh my God, just the final moments of the film. And again, I've rewatched it multiple times. It's beautiful. I was so happy to be able to discover her, and I've gotten so many great recommendations about her filmography, and I can't wait to dive into them all. One of the best performances on the list of nominees as a whole. So I'm glad that I snagged her. She's just remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great pick. Yeah, that was very much the other one I was contemplating here. I don't know if I expected her to come back to me at all. That's a really great pick. I very much agree with everything you said there. So we are back to you. You get the next pick here.
Okay. I gotta be honest. This is where I'm like starting to lose passion in the rest of these picks just a tiny, tiny bit. I don't know if I should go controversial or play it safe. All right. I'll go controversial a little bit because I do love this performance a lot. Next up, I'm going with Carey Mulligan in Promising Young Woman. I have loved Carey Mulligan since In Education. I think she's one of the most talented actresses and underappreciated actresses despite having multiple Oscar nominations. She's also been nominated for Maestro, which I guess you can grab. I hate that performance, so if you're worried about me taking Carey Mulligan twice, rest assured, JD. But I think what she does in Promising Young Woman is terrific. I understand that Emerald Fennell has been a little bit polarizing in her films. Not everyone, I guess kind of is on her wavelength. But I think, again, if we separate the performance from the film a little bit, I think Carey Mulligan, she's funny, she's sexy, she's spunky. She like rides the like style versus substance line perfectly, and she just, she's just iconic. Her little like blowing the gum bubbles and singing Paris Hilton in the grocery store. It's just a really, really good performance that I think will stand the test of time, and one of her very best. I just love it so much. She's like a firecracker and just like exudes charisma and attitude, and I'm obsessed with her.
Okay, then. All right. I probably feel about that one as you felt about Michelle Williams in The Fabelmans. I don't love that movie. I'm not as high on that performance as you. I do really love Carey Mulligan on the whole, though. That film just was not my cup of tea. It was not for me. But I do love Carey Mulligan on.
Don't quote Spike Lee at me, JD.
Sorry. It's like all I see now when I say that phrase. It's just embedded deep into my brain.
Are you also gonna like skip away? Like
I know, like I should. I don't think I could mimic his energy though. That's the problem. He just does it so perfectly. All right. So Mulligan, Promising Young Woman. That is your pick. So
yes.
Okay. So then we are back to me as I mark that performance off the list here. All right, let's see here. All right. I think I know where I'm going to go with my next pick. I think this one is actually quite underrated, but again, it's an international film. I understand why it goes under the radar a little bit. I am going with Penelope Cruz in Parallel Mothers. I am a huge Pedro Almodovar fan. He does melodrama like no other. He is one of the finest at it, and I do really like that film a lot. And I think a big reason it's so stunning is that Penelope Cruz gives such an evocative and blistering performance, and is such a big reason I feel like that film and its complexities why they resonate as much as they do. There's something about the emotional precision of the performance. There's a seamlessness in terms of Almodovar's tone that really comes through in the performance as well. And that is always the tricky part with Almodovar because, again, it is melodrama, at least for most of his movies. And I think he navigates that very well as a director, and to get that same kind of tonal command from the performance. I mean, all of that's got to be working congruently, and they obviously have a chemistry. They've worked together so many times over the years, and that performance and the chemistry that they have very much came through for me, and I deeply love it. I really like what that film is trying to do, and I love Cruz and that performance a lot. So it is my next pick here. Okay. So then,
do you go or do I go?
It circles back to me. And see, okay, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Because I think there are probably more popular choices here, but there's at least there are two subjective performances here that I deeply love. That I'm just trying to kind of weigh here. You know what? I think for my next pick, it's time, because this is my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is my 7th pick here. Yeah, I think we're deep enough in the draft that I'm okay to take this, and maybe it's a bit of a risk given some of the discourse out there right now. But I mentioned earlier, I've been the biggest champion of Jessie Buckley forever. And I think she should have been Oscar nominated before Hamnet. I think arguably she should have won before Hamnet. But here we are. Of course, it's all about marketing and campaigning. And we talked about that earlier. And it's finally her time. She's seemingly on her way to winning the Oscar this year, which is why the arrows are out for this performance. I don't think this will help me with the vote all that much, but I'd be lying if I sat here and said I don't think it isn't the best performance of the year. I think it very much is. I think all the awards love that she has received over the last few months have been more than warranted. Personally speaking, she was also my winner for Best Actress. But again, I could understand the bias there as a parent myself, and I can't even fathom what it would be like to go through something like that as we see in Hamnet. And I think she does such a great job of fostering that lived-in experience to make it as palpable as it does. I mean, she broke me in ways that I can't even begin to articulate. I have tried and failed several times on this show. I just don't know if I can put it into words. All I can say is that it did a number on me that I will soon not forget. So I am sad that the arrows are out. I don't think they are warranted at all, but it's the world that we live in. I don't care if it hurts me in the fan vote. I think it's one of, if not the performance of 2025. So it's my next pick here.
I completely agree with you. I think she's incredible. And again, I ask people to separate the discourse from the actual performances. As I also head into my next pick, I'm going to go controversial too, JD. In honor of my beloved friend and Chasing the Gold co-host, Erica Richards, I am picking Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. Now, I understand that Wicked for Good has left a bit of a stench and a bitter taste, shall we say. I would like you all to forget that and transport yourselves back to last November when you're sitting in the theater and Cynthia Erivo hits that magical note that I will not try to replicate and I will say years. Okay, just remember how that made you feel and the chills that it sent down your spine. So I ask you all to hold space for Cynthia Erivo because she truly is incredible, and for you to take a character as iconic as Elphaba, played by so many other iconic women, and like give your own twist to it with that incredible voice. And she, in my opinion, was the best part of Wicked for Good. She was better than Ariana Grande. I mean, I think they're both incredible, but yeah, I mean, I think the Wicked fandom's a little bit gone off the rails, but Cynthia Erivo, truly incredible and deserved a nomination for Wicked, and I was glad to see that recognition for her. Her Oscar is coming. Her EGOT will be complete very likely next year, JD. She is going to be in the film adaptation of Prima Facie, which was a won all the awards over in London, and I think the film adaptation is going to do very well. So the EGOT will be complete very soon. Hang tight, Cynthia Erivo fans. In the meantime, feel better by voting for my draft.
Okay. That is your third pick from last year, which I think is interesting. Just find that compelling. Yeah, I mean, I don't love Wicked, but I do think that performance is tremendous. She is really, really great. And by Wicked, I mean the movie. I love the musical. I haven't loved the two films, but I do think Erivo is the best part of both of them. And yeah, she's really fantastic. So yeah, that is a good pick.
It's a really difficult role. Like it's like genuinely really hard to pull off what she did. So
yes. Okay, so I think we sneak back to you. That was your first pick, I believe. So we're back to you.
Yes. Okay. Up next, I am going to throw it back a little bit. This is a performance. We know the Oscars love the biopics, and of the nominated biopic performances, this is my favorite. This is also another case of me discovering a star. I would very much like to see her back in awards contention. That's Audra Day for the United States versus Billie Holiday. Okay. Not a good movie. I'm just going to be honest. I didn't like the movie, but I think she is again, tremendous. I completely forgot that I was sort of watching a biopic performance. I completely bought her as Billie Holiday. I think she nails the vulnerable yet strength of Billie Holiday perfectly. It's a really tender, beautiful performance. She really blew me away, and she was a lone Best Actress nominee that year. But I'm just really glad that she had this sort of star moment because she was just really remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly. She is great in a movie that isn't. That
But
is very much the case.
there's plenty of nominations like that on this list, and I think
Yep.
she very much rises above the material where some of these other women, God bless them, do not.
Yeah. I agree with that. We circle back to my next two. All right. So I have one more I'm very passionate about, and then it comes down to a lot of films I'm less passionate about, or performances. Well, maybe less the performances, certainly the films. All right, so I am going to go with my passionate pick here. This is Vanessa Kirby, Pieces of a Woman, going back to
That was going
2020.
to be my next passion pick. Great pick, JD. Really,
Yes.
yeah.
I love this film. I'm a big fan of Cornell Manvruso. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly or not, but I really like him as a filmmaker. And I think part of it comes down to the pathos of his films and how he's able to channel that directorially and especially performatively. Now, Vanessa Kirby's a great actress, so you certainly expect her to bring that out. What he does in White God in 2015, I just don't know if I'll ever forget that. But Vanessa Kirby is incredible. This is a dour movie, of course. It's arduous, but given what she experiences in that movie, maybe echoes a bit of what we saw this last year with Buckley and Hamnet for sure. But she didn't get the notoriety in the same way. In some ways, I think you can be surprised that she got the nomination there because that film kind of flew under the radar. But maybe it was a weird time though as well with COVID and everything happening at that time. It was strange. But I love the film a lot. I really love that performance. It's very, very emotional. So that is my next passionate pick here. Kirby and Piece of a Woman. All right.
Can I just say real quick, JD, for you Oscar watchers out there, his next film is coming out this year, starring Amy Adams. So very much could be a Best Actress contender. He has a great track record.
Time.
She has the narrative, so be on the lookout for that.
Yes, he's very good about getting the best performances out of his lead actors, whether they're people or dogs. Doesn't matter. He gets the best. Okay, let's see here. Where to go? Man, live Shadan. This is where it gets tricky. All right. All right. This is probably a bit controversial. That's okay. We're kind of at that stage where I think the rest of these picks are going to be a bit polarized. So that's okay. I'm going to go with Emma Stone in Poor Things. Yeah. Again, I don't think it's my favorite performance of hers in a Lanthimos film. This is the first winner I think we've brought up as a nominee in this draft. I do really love what she does in that film, though. It's audacious in many ways. And I love how brazen she is, how unafraid she is with that performance. Yeah, like the film itself has lessened in my mind a little bit since I saw it, but the performance very much has. And I love all those performances in a lot of ways. So yeah, I'm going to go Stone here. Stone and Poor Things. That's my next pick.
All right. Are these next two my last two?
Yeah, so these next two are your last two, and then I
Oh,
should have
good
one more
Lord.
left. Yep.
Okay. Remember how I told you I have a list of people I like refuse to talk about? I'm very close to having to go into my list of people I refuse to talk about. All right, I'm gonna go one that's a passion pick for me, and that's Olivia Colman in The Lost Daughter. I think Olivia Colman is so talented that, again, we forget exactly what she's capable of. She can pull off drama and comedy perfectly. This is another one where it's like potentially an unsympathetic character, but she's just really, really good. And speaking of Jessie Buckley, Jessie Buckley is also remarkable in The
Also
Lost
great in
Daughter,
that, yeah.
as is Dakota Johnson, but there's something about what Olivia Colman is able to do here that I just keep thinking about. I think that's the power of Olivia Colman as an actress. This is just a sticky performance. And honestly, Olivia Colman's awards track record is impeachable. And I really, really love this nomination and this performance and this movie. I'm very excited to see Jessie Buckley in The Bride. I think Maggie Gyllenhaal has proven to be herself to be a very capable director, as evidenced by the performances that she was able to draw out here. So Olivia Colman and The Lost Daughter.
I'm very much looking forward to The Bride as well, just because of how bold The Lost Daughter is in many regards. And she very much takes risk. Whether that works for people or not, obviously, I think that film was a little bit polarized as a result. But Coleman is great, subtly quite funny at times, and that's a really great performance. I love that one a lot as well. All right, so we're on to your next one, your last one. Make it
All
count.
right. As you rightfully pointed out, I seem to have really loved the Best Actress race last year. And so for strategic reasons, I am going to go with our winner, Mikey Madison,
Oh
in
man, that was
Anora.
going to be my next pick.
I love, new discoveries, and Mikey Madison was that for me in Anora. For those of you who did listen to the live stream, I seem to have a bone to pick with Sean Baker, but I think Mikey Madison is incredible in Anora. Speaking of powerful last scenes in Cars, my God, what she's able to do in the final seconds of that film, I still think about. I think she has an incredible career in front of her. She's picking really interesting projects to move forward with. And again, remove what you think of a film as a whole, isolate her performance, and she is just running the gambit of emotions and, just a really, really remarkable star-making performance. Another firecracker. I really love her in that film.
Yeah, I feel very similar about her as I have talked about Jessie Buckley or any of these others, in terms of how there's a discourse out there for that film and maybe even for that performance. But I think it was a well-deserved performance. I am seemingly a bigger fan of the movie than you and maybe a lot of other people. I do really like it, and I love that performance. I think she's great. Honestly, say what you will about the film, I think the performance is kind of undeniable. And I love the nuances and, again, the deep commitment to it. There's a vulnerability to that character that she goes full tilt into, and it's fantastic. So I love it. I think she was worthy of the nomination just for that last scene alone, let alone the rest of the movie. That's a great pick. That's where I was going to go with my last one if you didn't take it. But you did. All right. So my last pick here. So we will end the draft here. And I guess there's two that I'm considering here for this last pick. I think this is going to be kind of a bit of a legacy pick. And what I mean by that is the actress, not so much the film or even this performance. But I'm hoping that people will just see the name and be like, oh yeah, she's one of the best. Viola Davis. And Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is going to be my last pick here. It is a very good performance. I don't love the movie, but I think she's very good in it. And I'm hoping that people just be like, oh yeah, Viola Davis, she's great in everything that she does. Check. Yes, absolutely like that. That's my strategy here with Viola Davis as my last pick here. Again, the film itself, it's okay. I don't think it's a disaster by any means. But yeah, she's really good. Really good in it. So that is my last pick, Viola Davis. All right, Shadan, as we wind down here, let's quickly run down our selections here. Give me your 10.
All right. I have Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall, Demi Moore in The Substance, Michelle Yeoh, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Renata Reinsve, Sentimental Value, Carey Mulligan, Promising Young Woman, Fernanda Torres, I'm Still Here, Cynthia Erivo in Wicked, Audra Day in The United States versus Billie Holiday, Mikey Madison in Anora, Olivia Colman in The Lost Daughter.
All right, in my 10, I have Lydia Tarr herself, Kate Blanchett, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Michelle Williams for The Fablemans, Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, Kristen Stewart for Spencer, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Jessie Buckley Hamnet, Vanessa Kirby in Pieces of a Woman, Emma Stone in Poor Things, and Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Those are my 10. Let us know what you think of these draft picks. You can vote on our social media. We'll put a poll on Twitter, and we will also put one out on our Facebook page, our group Facebook page. Just look for InSession Film. If you want to join that group, just sign up there, and I'll make sure you get added and all that sort of stuff. And we will put out polls on both of those, and then we will get to the winners next week. So we look forward to seeing what everyone else thinks about these drafts. But I think we did pretty good here, Shadan. I don't know how you feel, but I think we nailed it.
Yeah, I don't know strategically how I did. Personally, there's a lot of performances that I really like in my list, so I'm happy.
Same.
I'm happy with my bunch.
Yep, I think we got a good 20 here, so we'll see how everyone else feels.
Apologies to the 10 that didn't make it in there. That's kind of bad odds in their world, but what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? There's some lesser performances on here.
Yeah, I'm sure Kate Hudson is just devastated that I didn't put her in my draft.
She's just so mad. Yeah,
she'll be all right.
Yeah, she'll survive. Yeah. Okay, so that is our Best Actress nominee draft again of the 2020s. Let us know what you think. With that said, as we begin to wind down here, just want to reiterate that Shadan has a Chasing the Gold out from last week where they give their thoughts on Oscar nominations. There's going to be a new Chasing the Gold later this week as well, as she noted earlier. New Women in Session out later this week as well. We will have reviews coming this week. There wasn't anything too crazy out in theaters this last week, so Brendan and I, we had to kind of do some digging to figure out what we wanted to do. We landed on, and these are technically 2025 films, but we're going to be discussing Gus Van Sant's Dead Man's Wire, which got a release, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago at this point. And then we're also going to be diving into, and I'm very excited for this, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, the German film Sound of Falling, which was in my top 15 of the year. Spoiler alert, I guess. I really love that film a lot. Look forward to digging into that one. So we will have those reviews later out this week before turning the page to Sam Raimi. And I'm very excited to dig into Sam Raimi's film next week. So that's the lineup for this week. Shadan, before we get out of here, do you have any final thoughts on anything? I really do appreciate you being here this week.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I'm happy to come back anytime. I did just write a massive Chasing the Gold piece about where you can find all the Oscar nominees, so please read that because I spent a lot of time on it. And follow me everywhere at Shadan Larki and support this crazy endeavor of JD's called InSession Film.
Yes, very much appreciate that. Yeah, go give Shadan a follow on social media. She's always doing Great work. So really do appreciate you, Shadan, everything you do. Again, appreciate you being here this week and filling in for Brendan. With that said, again, stay tuned for Chasing Gold this week, Women in Session, and the 2 reviews. We have a lot going on this week, as always. But really do appreciate it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will see you all next time on the InSession Film Podcast.